The following was recorded during the COVID-19 pandemic through Zoom meetings in accordance with local health guidelines. Hi, I'm Mike Maloney, and welcome to another CSRM podcast. Today's episode is hosted by Dr. Greg Linville.
Here we are again, back with John Keating, and he's down at the NAS. And if you were with us last week, if you watched or listened, John, you know, people, they put this on their headphones, whatever, as they're driving into work, or they're getting on the treadmill or running around the track. Or maybe they're sitting in their office and they're actually watching it. And we actually encourage watching because there's a lot of graphics that come on that communicate a lot of things for those of you that don't get that additional when you're listening. But however you're joining us, welcome back. And John, welcome back as well.
Hey, thank you, Dr. Greg. Thanks for having me. Excited to be joining you and all of the listeners here today.
Well, we want you to jump back in, and we want you to help us understand maybe the extent of your particular sports, recreation, and fitness outreach ministries that you do there in the suburban area of Columbus, Ohio. Your church itself is how many members or how many attenders?
Yeah, so I think everybody has pre-COVID numbers and post-COVID numbers online.
Yeah.
That's ever fluctuating, but we have about 2,000, 2,500 weekly attenders for our services, and probably another 1,500 people that would call this their church home from their attendance fluctuating. But yeah, we are very blessed and fortunate to have a great community and presence of people here in Grove City, Ohio.
And how many would you say are what we call in CSRM the local missionaries, those who are volunteering in your sports, rec, and fitness outreach?
Yes, so it would fluctuate by season, but on a yearly basis, we have over 150 volunteers that are part of our sports ministry, our sports leagues. And as our numbers continue to grow, as our sports ministry is currently growing, those numbers are increasing every year. But I would say, I love that term, local missionaries. We're over 150 of those each year.
That's wonderful, and they all have an impact, don't they? The ministry itself, kind of go through, start September, start January, and walk us through a calendar of what do you actually offer there?
Okay, so we have leagues and sports that we offer all year long, and we have as early as 3 years old to we have participants in their 70s and 80s, men and women, boys and girls of all ages. So if we are going to look at a calendar per se, in January, we are in the middle of our youth basketball and cheerleading. And so we have a long-standing partnership with Upward Sports. I'm sure many people listening to this are familiar with. Because of the size of our league, I was once told we are one of the largest single church-run Upward Sports leagues in the U.S. with our participation in basketball and cheerleading. And so we offer that from 5 years old to 8th grade. And then we have to utilize, as I mentioned in the previous podcast, that we have other churches that we connect with to make that league possible throughout the community to use their gym space. And so that's going on. We also offer our men's basketball league, which had 150 men playing basketball once a week on Sunday afternoons. And so we also then in the wintertime join in a local co-ed indoor league. And so we put teams together and go play in a city-run co-ed indoor volleyball league. And then the newest addition to that is indoor pickleball. And doctor, I don't know if you've gotten the itch with pickleball, but it is one of the fastest growing sports in the U.S. right now. And so we utilize one of our
Certainly is true. Yep.
And so that's the winter time for us. We will then move into the spring season, and we start off with something called the Nasters. We're known as Grove, the Naz Church. So we have started a once a month golf league of men playing in an outing style golf league that has about 50 members that play for 6 months, once a month, and they're all chasing this light blue jacket, the Nasters. We say it's a tradition like one other, obviously, and that's a great time to be out on the course. And in the springtime, we offer T-ball, turf.
Before you go to Tball, are those golf balls behind you?
Yeah, they are.
Are they part of the Masters?
They are ones I have not lost. Isn't that incredible? Those are some I've held on to. So, yes, we have. Here's the Nasters hat and a logo there that our church colors are light blue, so the jacket's light blue, and we have a great time with that. Some guys that have really taken the leadership of that on, do a wonderful.
And tell us about the Tball.
No, that's fine. T-ball is on the turf, which is great because they don't get dirty. They're the cutest looking bobbleheads you'll see running around. But boys and girls ages 3 to 5 years old, we recognize the city didn't offer a T-ball league for those ages. And so there was an opportunity there to connect with our preschool ministry to the T-ball, and using our turf field. We can put 8 different fields out on the field itself, and so that allows us to have that many number of teams. And pre-COVID, we were at 150 plus 3 to 5 year olds playing T-ball. It was hysterical. It is the cutest thing that we run, and so that goes through the spring there. As we get into the summer, we start signing up for our softball, and softball is a big deal around here in Grove City and in Columbus. And so our softball teams this year, we currently have 10 softball teams, 5 co-ed teams, 5 men's teams, and they play on 4 different days of the week.
These are your own leagues that you're running.
This is actually our own teams that we put in different leagues. And so those 10 teams,
okay,
some are playing up in Columbus. Columbus has one of the largest ball field complexes in the nation.
Right along the interstate there, right?
You're correct. Very good. Yeah, there's over 30 fields that sit in that one Berliner complex there in Columbus. And then we have some others here in Grove City, right in our own, literally just a mile down the road from our church that we can go play. And, man, I'll tell you, Doctor, the Lord has been moving through softball. He has been showing up on the ball field, and we have some incredible testimonies of what he's done through that. So that's great, and we play different tournaments throughout the year with our teams as well. And then we get into sand volleyball. One of the things we have on our campus is 2 sand volleyball courts. And so we have a league that we've just started offering sand volleyball in the summertime. It's a great summer night activity, as well as we have an 18-hole disc golf course that, in partnership with our actual city Parks and Rec department, we have on our campus the city's disc golf course. And so there are people every single day out there walking and playing disc golf, which is a lot of fun. So that gets us into the summertime, and we continue then into the fall, where we offer a men's football league. It's a 2-hand touch league, 7-on-7, also played out on our football field. And then we start registering and signing people up for our big youth basketball and cheerleading league, then leading into that. And we have our Future Stars basketball, which is 3 to 5 year old basketball in the fall there as well. And then our newest addition on top of this is line dancing. We have some ladies of all ages, but primarily some senior ladies that are a part of a line dancing group. And so they do that once a week, and they run a period in the fall. And they caught me showing up and joining in some line dancing. I have never been so embarrassed in my life.
So, when did the Nazarenes start letting you dance, man?
You know us too well. It's great. I love it. It's coordinated. It's all approved. But we have a great time.
It's indicative of it's not just sports or recreation. What the philosophy can be applied in a lot of different ways. And there's a lot of our churches that have an entire dance ministry, just like you described the youth leagues for Tball or basketball. They're doing this in dance, and they take the gals, typically, sometimes guys, all the way through. And so there's a lot you can do here, and there's a lot of different types of ways you can apply this principle. Now, help us understand a little bit more about the sports minister in this along this line. What you just laid out for us has an immense amount of administrative overhead. Are you an administrator? Are you gifted that way?
You know, it's one of those ways the Lord is growing me, but I can't go any further without saying He has also gifted me the role of Sarah O'Connor, so I have her also co-leading and working on the administrative side. You got to meet Sarah at our luncheon. She has that gifting as well as a ministry presence, and so she gets credit for a lot of that work, because you're right, it is a lot of coordinating, scheduling, planning, and making sure everything is in place to go forward. So,
and your words there are that I'm reading into this, so I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. Correct me in your situation, but in my situation, I had to surround myself with people who were smarter and more gifted, or at least gifted in complementary kinds of ways to me. Because when you start reaching 2,000 people a week or a year, you got to have some different skill sets. What has helped you? You say you hired Sarah. What has helped you be able to grow personally in that way?
yeah, that's a great question. You know, I would say the biggest help in all of this is being relational. That has been a key in recognizing where I may be limited, other people can excel. And so, in trusting your leaders of each sport, your coaches, we call them captains, those that run the adult leagues and the teams, those individual captains, and trusting them with leadership and responsibility, giving them a role. We have, like you said, surrounded ourselves with just great people that are passionate about sports, people that are passionate about bringing Christ to our community through sports, and their engagement makes this possible. Ultimately, I play a small role because their role is so large in seeing all of this happen every single year.
But it may be a word of encouragement to somebody who's listening or watching this, that you may not be the best sports person in the world, or you may not be the best so-called minister of the world. But if you have abilities that complement what's going on, this is a ministry that needs, as much as anybody, any ministry, these varied gifts and people that have different passions. And so we recognize that we don't do it, we're a team, and that God gifts us all in those kinds of ways. John, we're going to come back for another segment here, And what I'd like to get into as we move forward is how you have dealt with the COVID situation and what opportunities might be there that we didn't even anticipate. What are some of the obstacles you've had to overcome? And then also, how does the NAS grab a hold of a person who's in the community out there, and how do you get them into your sports and rec, and then how do you get them from there into the sanctuary, so to speak? How is your congregation actually doing that evangelistic disciple making and helping people move across that and incorporate all of that? And I'm going to just preface it to say, we had said earlier that no place is perfect, and your church is great, but it may not be perfect. And that will help a lot of other churches, because you know what, John, there's a lot of churches that aren't perfect.
Absolutely. Made up of people. That's right.
Any kind of lead in to something with COVID or anything in the last minute or two we have?
Yeah, I will tell you this. It has forced us to rethink everything. That's everyone can relate. But God has shown up even greater. And I am going to get to share a couple testimonies of people that are being baptized next month.
Oh, cool.
Their involvement in sports ministry. They had not been a part of our church until they were part of our sports ministry.
I love it. So, folks, we're wrapping up this segment, and we're asking you that if you have any thoughts or questions and you want to contact John and the NAS, they're available to you. The stuff will be coming up on the screen if you're watching, or you can go to the CSRM website and grab hold of how you can get a hold of them. I think it would be just as easy as Googling the NAS in Grove City, Ohio, and you'll probably come across it some way. But join us next week as we get into some of these things that COVID has given us, both as obstacles and opportunities, and then also as we think through how do we incorporate these kinds of outreaches into our church. Can't thank you enough for being with us here, John, and look forward to the next segment with you.
The CSRM podcast is a production of the Association of Church Sports and Recreation Ministers and their video production house, Overwhelming Victory Flix. Dr. Greg Linville is the executive producer, and Andrew Fouts is associate producer and editor. For more information about CSRM, visit csrm.org. For more information about Overwhelming Victory, visit overwhelmingvictory.org. The CSRM podcast is the flagship member of a new podcast network called Overwhelming Victory Radio. For more information on Overwhelming Victory Radio or to listen to our partner podcasts, visit overwhelmingvictory.org/OV radio. For CSRM Podcasts, I'm Mike Maloney. Have a blessed day.